Alex Pino with KSI Press from Steve Erceg, who returns to action this Saturday at Eternal MMA 73. Steve, how are you?
Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you.
Awesome, awesome. Well, I'm very happy to be talking with you, and thank you again for talking during, especially during fight week, man. 3 days out. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah, I'm ready. I'm happy to just be back in the cage and doing like what I love, and yeah, very excited to be in front of like UFC, uh, uh, what's it called, matchmakers and stuff like that, and hopefully have some people in the building that I can impress.
Yeah, man. So before we get to that fight, I wanted to talk about the. So you were supposed to fight on the Contender Series last year.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't imagine how you feel because I was so fucking bummed, dude. I talked about it all the time. Um, what were the emotions like knowing that you didn't get to fight on the season last year?
Obviously, I was like, yeah, very like it was devastating. Like, you think you're that close to the goals that you've been like working towards for 10 years now, and then because of something that like out of your hands you sort of get denied that opportunity. um like that being said, like yeah, it sucks, but like again, it was out of my hands, so I just got to get back to work, start getting better, make myself undeniable.
What for anybody that does not know, what was the reason why you couldn't come over to the US?
Yeah, so my working visa got denied. Unfortunately, I never found out the reason why I was denied. So there's no clarification. But the UFC do seem confident that if I was to get the same opportunity, they would get me a visa, no worries. So, yeah, just go by their word and hope for the best.
So it's kind of like, you know, you didn't get to fight last year because you were waiting for this Contender Series. So like also how bummed were you to be on the sideline as, staying out basically a year?
Yeah, especially like it feels like I'm in my prime, like 26, 27, 28. So yeah, to miss out on a year of fighting, during those years is yeah, it sucks. So, um, yeah, I tried to get one in October, but unfortunately, I couldn't get anybody to say yes. And then, luckily enough, eventually got a yes for February. But it was a slog trying to get somebody for sure.
Were you secretly hoping, because I know I was, that the UFC were going to give you a call for this UFC 284 card?
Yeah, of course. I was trying to make some noise, and like people were making noise for me. But yeah, unfortunately, it wasn't in the cards. But yeah, to make the most of the opportunity I have.
And especially because Shannon's on that card and you beat Shannon. So and I asked Shannon when I talked to him, like, Steve's still an eternal while you're in the UFC, like what you talked about that. So like is it kind of a bummer to know that like he's making his UFC debut this weekend?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does suck. I Yeah, obviously there's actually a couple guys in the UFC now that I fought. Um, yeah, it sucks, but like again, I've said it a few times. Like, it can't be too salty. He's like paid his dues. He's been fighting for a long, long time. And I'm happy for him. Like he's worked hard for his moment. It's good for him, good for his family. So just wish him the best. And it's sort of like a measuring stick. I can see how he does in the UFC, and then gauge that compared to how my skills match up.
Awesome, awesome. All right, well, let's talk about it, man. Eternal MMA 73. So Chiro Harai, man. What do you think of the matchup?
I think it's a good matchup for me. I mean, he wants to go to the ground. He got some good judo. I think he's a black belt in judo. And he definitely wants to be on top. Striking wise, he's okay going forward. Like he throws a nice straight left hand, check right hook. Going backwards, he's pretty average though. So I think my skills match up very well against his. Like I obviously like being on the ground, and I don't think his wrestling is good enough for him to put me on my back. Whereas I think that I can reverse his takedown attempts and stuff like that. And I think my striking is much better than his. So I think in all areas of the fight, I'm going to be dominant. I really think I can get a finish within 2 rounds.
Why isn't this for the championship?
I don't think Eternal want to put up a title for somebody that's not from the country. Because like worst case scenario for them, he wins the title, then all of a sudden they have to fly him out every time, or he decides he doesn't want to fight again and have to vacate it again. It just didn't make sense for them.
Gotcha, gotcha. Were you kind of bummed that you're not defending your title, or is it two less rounds that you have to worry about?
I prefer five rounds. Like I think cardio is one of my strong suits. But as far as like the esteem of the title and stuff, like everybody knows that I'm the flyweight champ. So yeah, it doesn't matter in that regard to me.
Yeah. On paper, it's a very fun fight. So, with all that being said, this Saturday at Eternal MMA 73, how do you get your hand raised?
I sort of toss up between two. I think there's a good chance I finished with like a rear naked choke. Um, Mostly because I think he's going to shoot desperately. And he's going to make mistakes, and I'm going to take his back off that. But yeah, if he doesn't shoot for whatever reason, I think I'm going to knock him out.
Awesome, dude. I love it. I love it, man. I guess just how does it feel to, finally be fighting again, man? It's. I think it's the longest layoff of your career. I was trying to look at it, and I think it is, man. So, is there any? I know that you've been training during this whole time, so like I don't think ring rust is kind of a thing, but like, will the layoff play any part?
I don't think so. I have had like long lasts in past for similar reasons, like people I couldn't get anybody to fight me, basically. And the only difference I feel is that like just the more you fight, the more comfortable you feel with the whole pre-fight amble. So like being at the back and all that sort of stuff, you're used to that feeling. Whereas I might be a little bit more nervous out the back. But as far as in the cage, nothing ever seems to be different. Like it's just business as usual.
Mm. And so you said that the UFC matchmakers are going to be in attendance for your fight.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like it's not like 100%, but there's been talks for sure of having certain people down. So
So, with a win, are you getting your UFC contract?
I don't know for sure. I mean, obviously I hope so. Yeah, either that or another shot at contender. Obviously, I'd prefer get straight into the UFC. Um, and yeah, so hopefully combined with a good performance and them hearing like how excited the Australian crowd is when I walk out and all that sort of stuff. Hopefully, I get in straight away, but we'll see.
Awesome, dude. Awesome. And then finally, I just want to kind of talk to you about UFC 284, man. Big fight, big fight in Perth. Firstly, there's there's been some like America thinks that this fight card hasn't been promoted enough, and there hasn't been enough promotion. Do you feel it in Australia? Like, has there been a lot of promotion and hype for this card?
I don't know if I mean I think they're sort of two different things, hype and promotion. I don't know how much it's been promoted, but I don't know if they've really needed to because
Right.
yeah, the hype is crazy. Like it's the most like it sold out so fast. Like people were sort of very upset with how hard it was to get tickets and like all that sort of stuff. So everybody's like super excited for this weekend. You got so many Australians on the card, heaps of eternal champions on the card. I mean, obviously Alex Volkanovski fighting Islam. It's going to be crazy, despite I think lack of promotion.
So I do want your thoughts on that main event, man. How do you see it going down, and who is winning that fight?
I it's a hard one because I think Islam Makhachev's really good, but I can never go against an Australian, and Volkanovski is also very good. I've had the pleasure of doing some takedown drills and stuff with him, and although I'm not on his level, like you can still see like how good he is. Like it's so I'm definitely rooting for him, and I think he can do it. So
Awesome. And then one last one. There was a big flyweight title fight in the UFC last month with between Figgy and Brandon Ring. I just want your thoughts on that fight and how you see the division kind of playing out.
yeah, I think it was interesting to see the progression of like through their fights. So to start with, they're both predominant strikers, and that's all they really wanted to do. And you saw Figgy, especially in the first fight, um, win except for the uh, lost point. But as it progressed, you saw more and more implementation of wrestling. And I think um, that's sort of a trend. Like even if you are a striker, just putting in the takedown threat, make them like mess with their striking time and stuff like that. So that was really cool to see. And like, yeah, I think Moreno will be the champ for a little bit. hopefully until I get there.
Absolutely, dude. Absolutely. And you already know I can't fucking wait for that day. So awesome, Steve. Thank you so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. If you want to plug any social media, plug any sponsors you might have, and if you want to thank anybody, the floor is yours.
Cool. Yeah. So my Instagram is just like at Erceg Steven. And yeah, sponsors just Intrepid basically is my only sponsor. They're doing my fights, gloves, shin pads, all that sort of stuff. So thanks to them. And yeah, Wilkes Academy, which is my gym. Couldn't be here without them. So yeah, that's it. Thank you.